Chapter 7, Discerning. I received some excellent advice when I went into my doctoral studies. Advice that was necessary, and I'm glad for it. I remember someone, though I'm not quite sure who now, telling me about, especially when it concerns choosing a topic for your dissertation. That person said, choose a topic that you're really interested in. Now, writing a dissertation takes a lot of work, and being interested in the topic can keep you going when the tedium gets kind of long and it's hard to see your way through. And so it's a good advice to choose a topic that you're interested in so you can actually finally complete the dissertation. But this person went further. Your dissertation, the person said, is something you will live with for the rest of your life. Choose something that you think is important enough that you can rehearse it and develop it and live with it for a very long time. I appreciated that advice and I took it. Indeed, I chose as my dissertation topic the topic of discernment. Everybody. Well, indeed, I have now been studying and developing, exploring discernment for 30 years now. All of us are interested in the subject of discernment. We all wrestle with it. We may not use the same term, but it's the same thing anyway. We have some spiritual experience, and we wonder, is this really from God or not? We're facing a career decision or a relationship decision, or some church is trying to decide whether or not to hire this person or not, and we discern. A congregation may hear about a conference or some event or some revival movement and wonder, should we participate in this? Should we get involved? But then the question comes up, well, is this really a move of God or not? That's discernment. We join a community of faith, and then we struggle to find out how exactly we fit into that community. That itself is part of discernment. And then there really is something I'm beginning to discover, particularly in communities of poverty or things like that, is the discernment of survival itself. Just this sense of, how do I keep alive here? Where is life to be found? That itself, believe it or not, is an act of discernment. So John Woolman struggled with the same kind of thing. More interesting enough, he devotes the bulk of the section of his journal concerning 1769 to 1770 around one decision. A decision whether or not I should travel to the West Indies. He was interested in visiting the slave conditions there. He was burdened about the whole thing, and he wanted to go and see it for himself. And so he's trying to discern whether or not he should go. And he recounts that in this chapter of the Sacred Roots edition of John Woolman's journal I'm giving you. The interesting thing is, he ultimately decides not to go. How did he make that decision? What were the factors that led him to do this? And I think what's interesting is the process. Again, Woolman it's this multiple relatedness. His relationship with God, his relationship with his own congregation and his mentors and peers, his relationship with the people who suffer, and then value systems. He had the sense of integrity and consumer ethics and all of these sorts of things that come to play in his making a decision. And I think it's a really fascinating thing to follow this one decision of John Woolman's and then to ask yourself, how do I make decisions like this? How do we as a congregation or we as a team of leaders, how do we make decisions like that? It's good to examine the spirit and then the values that shape how Woolman and how we discern how we end up leading our lives. Woolman, I think, in this journal entry, this section of journal entries, gives us a fascinating account of the process of discernment. So, our task in reading this chapter is to look at that and then to examine to ourselves, what can I learn about doing discernment myself?